Hello there guys, and welcome to Hope Daily. Today is Monday and we are going to be in Esther chapter 7, so we are kind of nearing the end of the book of Esther according to our Bible reading plan. And today in this chapter we get to see the moment where the enemy is defeated. So Haman is defeated in his plan to exterminate and to annihilate the Jews. So if you're watching with me, make sure you say hi, comment along, let me know what you're up to today, and if you're watching back later on, then again just comment in, share your own thoughts and your own kind of responses from the passage as we kind of go through it. I titled today's passage "The Devil's Gonna Hang on His Own Gallows," and I'll come to explain that in a moment. So it says in chapter 7 verse 1, "So the king and Haman went to dine with Queen Esther." If you remember, the Queen Esther had already, hey Byron, good to see you buddy. Queen Esther had already invited King Xerxes and Haman to a first meal, and then they invited them back again. In between those two meals, Haman had got like a really angry with Mordecai because he didn't bow down or show fear in his presence, and so he had these gallows built. I think they were 75 feet high in order to hang Mordecai on it. But yeah, even the next day, the king honors Mordecai based on something else that had happened before in the story. And so in chapter 6, Mordecai is honoured and gets led on a royal horse with royal robes, with Haman leading him at the front. So he's kind of like, goes home with his tail between his legs in shame. And then this is the chapter where there's a final nail in the coffin and he gets his comeuppance. So it says, "So King and Haman went to dine with Queen Esther, and as they were drinking wine on that second day, the king asked Esther, 'Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given to you. What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted.'" Hey to everyone that's watching, make sure you say hi, comment in, let me know what you're up to. "Then Queen Esther answered, 'If I have found favour with you, O king, and if it pleases your majesty, grant me my life. This is my petition, and spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold for destruction and slaughter and annihilation. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress should justify disturbing the king.'" So Esther comes out with it. She's like, hey, we need help. Please come and help you. Our people, my race, the Jews, they have been sold to annihilation. We are going to be wiped out if you don't speak up and help us. King Xerxes asked Esther, "Who is he? Where is the man who has dared to do such a thing?" Esther said, "The adversary and enemy is this vile Haman." He was like sat right opposite her in the king's presence, and you can imagine that he's like drinking like a cup of wine and he's like, just caught, red-handed. Then Haman was terrified before the king and queen. The king got up in a rage, left his wine, and went out into the palace garden. But Haman, realizing that the king had already decided his fate, stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. You see, Haman already knew what was coming his way. Straight away, as soon as the king got angry, he was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be end badly for me." He knows what sort of king King Xerxes is, the king who, just kills his enemies and his adversaries. Just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. The king exclaimed, "Will he even molest the queen while she is still with me in the house?" As soon as the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Then Harbona, one of the eunuchs attended the king, said, "A gallows 70 feet high stands by Haman's house. He had it made for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king." The king said, "Hang him on it." So they hanged Haman on the gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's fury subsided. Morning Melissa, morning Chris. So wow, what an amazing story, what an amazing passage. And here we see, the enemy being defeated. And the reason why I've titled it this passage, the devil's gonna hang on his own gallows, is that there's this great song. I can't remember who it's by, but what I'll do, I'll stick a link up in the details bar so you can listen to it. And it's called Gallows, and that's one of the lines from the song talking about, and it's probably inspired from this story, but talking about how in the end God is going to deal with his enemies, and God is going to bring death to bring death to the devil, and the devil who seeks to see destruction and annihilation for people, for humanity, for the church. He wants to see us judged and come underneath the wrath of God. He is the one who is going to come underneath that, and so he's going to kind of hang on his own gallows, or God is going to use the devil's own weapons against him, which is just like the story really. Haman was, like the enemy of the Jews. He wanted to see them destroyed. He wanted to see them annihilated. And that he got that annihilation. The gallows that he built to hang one of the Jews is the very same gallows that they hanged him on. That he got his own. He got a taste of his own medicine. Because then it says in Revelation 20, when it talks about the end, when it talks about Jesus coming back, when it talks about God, restoring his kingdom, when it talks about God dealing with sin and death and evil once for all, it says, the sea gave up the dead that were in it, and death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them, and each person was judged according to what he had done. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death. So, and it talks about hell, or it talks about that the lake of fire. But yet it says death and Hades. Death, Hades, the devil, Satan, are all thrown into the lake of fire. That they are the ones who are destroyed. That the enemy has been defeated in the end. That we know that on the cross, Jesus won the victory for us. He won the victory for the church. He won the victory for humanity, or for those that would believe in him and put their faith in him. And he destroyed his enemy. He destroyed our enemy, and he saved us from that annihilation. So this passage in Esther 7 really, it's a gospel story, really, isn't it? It's pointing forwards, and it's picturing forwards to this beautiful image of the gospel about God coming in and saving the day, rescuing his people, and giving his enemy, giving Satan, giving the devil what he deserves, and hanging him on his own gallows that he'd built, and that he had prepared for the destruction of God's people. So it's an amazing passage. So let me know what your thoughts are about it. Let me know how it's made you react or made you respond. I hope it fills you with confidence today. I hope it fills you with a boldness today, that you can trust in all that God is and all that God has done for you, and know that God is on your side, that God is the one who exalts the humble, and he brings lowly the prideful. And just the devil, Satan, is prideful and sets himself up against God. God rejects that and humbles him. And in the end, the enemy is defeated, and the devil hangs on his own gallows. Amen. So what an amazing passage. So Jamie will be joining with you tomorrow for Esther chapter 8, so you can look forward to that. And again, have a great week, enjoy your day, and may God's blessing be on you. So take care, and God bless. Bye.